More and more accessible housing will pop up throughout the city thanks to a designation from the Rockford Housing Authority. 23 News reporter Alyssa Reamer learns more about why this gives landlords the help they need to improve the lives of their tenants.
Help them rise up and not live in poverty for the rest of their lives.
Improving the lives of low-income families is the goal of a new initiative from the Rockford Housing Authority as it launches its Move to Work designation Thursday. It provides incentives to landlords.
Any landlord that has not participated in our program before will receive a $1,000 or 1 month's rent signing bonus, whichever is the lesser of the two, with the opportunity to add 4 more units within that year.
Justin Francis is a landlord liaison. He says the incentive will cover the cost of damages to make units move-in ready. It also helps create mobility for people who have housing choice vouchers.
Able to take their vouchers all over the community. So it doesn't limit them to just one area, one side of the community.
Not just enough for families just to live with us, but it's important for us to be able to empower our families to become self-sufficient, to meet their goals.
RHA says recruiting landlords through Move to Work helps increase suitable houses in opportunity areas like the East Side.
More landlords, more houses mean more of our residents can be housed.
It's an exciting step for both tenants and landlords.
This has been a long time coming. The Rockford Housing Authority truly needed the flexibility to be able to do some things that we've been wanting to do forever.
Working for you in Rockford, Alyssa Reamer, 23 News.
The Rockford Housing Authority will host a community meeting June 28th to share more information with landlords about the program.